Yesterday I talked about the Mars op, what I called the Mars op. What's going on with it? What is the deal with the Mars op? To put it in Seinfeldian terms. Uh, and I want to make a clarification now, because a lot of times I do this. I talk about something and then I realize that something I said could be misconstrued or misunderstood or just needed to be clarified. And that is, I am aware that fascination with the planet Mars didn't just arise 5 or 6 years ago. I'm aware that people have been fascinated with other planets, with outer space, with all that stuff, all that science fiction type stuff, or just I guess the question to what extent it's science fiction anymore, and what's real and what isn't, what's actually going on versus what's just being made up. That's a certainly a worthwhile question to ask as well when it comes to the realm of space and planets. And I know that there are probably people out there who don't believe that space even exists. And you're welcome to this conversation as well. I'm not excluding anybody or rejecting anybody from my company, but I just ask that you listen with an open mind to what I'm saying. So it's not like suddenly Mars got noticed 5 or 6 years ago, and I don't know if some who saw my video from yesterday could have come to the conclusion that I was claiming something like that. That is, of course, not the case. The planet has been written about, going all the way back to H.G. Wells, right? Who was definitely a man who was in the upper echelon of shall we say, the string pullers, those who aimed to shape society in a certain direction. So it's not like H.G. Wells was just operating in a vacuum, just doing his speculation or writing his speculative fiction, his sci-fi. It's not like that can be entirely separated from the life that he led and the company that he kept, and the fact that he saw himself as as a kind of elitist, and along with most of his friends in that regard, who were who had all of the descriptions that I've talked about before that describe today's so-called elitists, including eugenicism, a heavy emphasis on eugenicism. So, yeah, he wrote about Mars in War of the Worlds. In that book, the invaders came from Mars, and it's been talked about, mentioned. There was the movie Capricorn 1, fascinating movie, by the way, for anyone who's interested in the space program and what's real and what isn't, and when we could be being lied to, and are we really seeing astronauts on the surface of some foreign body, or some foreign heavenly body, or are we just seeing them on a soundstage? All that stuff is really interestingly touched on in the movie Capricorn 1. But that movie involved a planned mission to Mars. I won't go into any more detail about that. I don't want to get too off the mark here, off the trail. And there were there have been other things. there have been people who have been interested in Mars, and there is this whole notion of, which maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, that some claim that some of the rovers who came close to the surface of Mars, or who were on the surface of Mars, took pictures which apparently indicated this gigantic statue of a face on Mars. Now, the NASA establishment and their cronies and all of the Snopes.com types are saying, no, this is bunk. This is not true. This has been debunked. But I don't know whether it's true or not. But I know a lot of people who are smarter than me and more knowledgeable than me believe that it is true. So there you go. So yeah, as far as the whole and looking at Mars, you had Ray Bradbury, his novel, which somebody mentioned in the comment section, The Martian Chronicles. I don't think Bradbury was really plugged in with the same crowd at all. In fact, I think he despised them. He was very much of a humanist and a romantic and a reactionary. God bless him. Anybody who reads Fahrenheit 451, great depiction of a dystopian world. Maybe underrated, between the likes of Brave New World and 1984. So Mars has been written about. It's been obsessed over. People have had interest in it for a while, and we've seen movies which featured manned missions to Mars. I think there was one. Was it called The Red Planet? Right around the turn of the millennium. I'm not sure if that title is correct, but I remember seeing a movie which was about a group of a crew of astronauts going to Mars and discovering stuff there. So what I'm talking about, though, is something different. I want to draw a distinction between the general interest in the planet Mars, the general question about, what the history of Mars, whether Mars could at one time have sustained life. Perhaps it could have. Perhaps its geography was at one time different from how it is now. Now it's just a big barren rock, a big red rock, orbiting the sun at some distance way farther out than where we are. And so it kind of raises this whole question that with this whole obsession, which seems to be geared towards the notion of colonizing Mars right now. Or do you even say colonizing? Is colonizing a bad word now? Of having people live on Mars, of sending rockets or manned missions to Mars with the eventual idea of setting up human establishments on Mars. And yes, of course, there's Total Recall, which I believe I've mentioned before here. Paul Verhoeven's movie Total Recall, which fits very interestingly into this whole conversation. That movie was made, I believe, in 90 or 91, somewhere around there. And some say that it contains depictions of things, that some, there are those who say that you can find little hints of things that are hidden, that they drop in these hints in things like movies. uh, as a kind of revelation of the method, as a kind of, this is stuff that we secretly know, and we can't tell the world in plain terms, or we don't want to tell the world in plain terms. But as I've said before, with other things that they do, it's kind of like they have to make these things, render these things manifest to us in one way or another, because otherwise they are we are the rest of us are absolved of this knowledge. And if they drop it on us in some way, to the point where we have to know, we have to at least be curious about these sorts of things, then we're not absolved from the knowledge. Now, this isn't really guilt like would be the deal with 9/11, the example that I gave with 9/11, where I believe that story was concocted in such a way as to be transparently ridiculous, and it was made to be obviously ridiculous in order that people who bought into the lie of it would be thus implicated, because they should have known. They should have known better. They should have known things, like just don't add up. And so I don't know if this is more like esoteric knowledge, if what I'm talking about here, what might have been revealed in something like Total Recall, where they go down below the surface of Mars, and there's all this alien technology, and there's this means of restoring an Earth-like atmosphere to Mars. The whole program that Arnold's character goes on is called Blue Skies on Mars. So there's the fanciful take on Mars, but what I'm more struck by now is that they're really pushing it. You see, mainstream bodies like the Smithsonian. It was the cover of a Smithsonian magazine that I saw in the airport, which talked about living on Mars. And it's things that you see on Netflix, things that you see on other streaming services like Hulu, which are all about the whole idea of us going to Mars and eventually establishing human colonies, if you want to call them that. I don't know what else to call them. Human civilizations, human habitations on the planet Mars. That seems to be where we're at right now, and one wonders why. Because I don't know what exactly compels us to spend, or what compels them. I shouldn't say us. I don't include myself or most of you in this whole thing. There's this weird sort of tendency to talk about us when we don't really mean us. We're not doing this. Our would-be our powers that shouldn't be are the ones doing these kinds of things. But what is so compelling that it necessitates spending billions of dollars and expending endless resources to pass through this long this extensive area of space where nothing is there? I can't remember, some commentator was making this point, saying that space is boring. There's just nothing there. You just go out and it's just blackness. There's there's nothing there. Now C.S. Lewis saw things differently in his his trilogy, his chronicle, and he also wrote about Mars, and that's another interesting fact. For him, the whole outer space is alive and full of signs of joy and wonder. But we generally tend to think of space as just this big vacuum that goes on and on and on forever. So what's the compunction to push things in this direction? Why are we now getting this kind of propaganda, hearing this kind of talk about getting to Mars, and not just reaching Mars, not just putting a human footprint on the planet Mars, but actually establishing human habitation on the planet Mars? Why now? Why is that the agenda right now? And I think that can be separated from general interest in Mars, or movies that have been made in the past, or books that have been written in the past about Mars, or science fiction books which entertain the idea of life on Mars, or there once having been life on Mars, or whatever. So that's my question, really. It does seem like if you're paying attention right now to the way the top officials are presenting themselves. Number one, there's this push for aliens, for talking about UFOs. They're rebranding them, of course. They're calling them UFPs, something gay like that. They can't just say UFOs anymore. They have to be, what is it? I think it's AFP or UFP, and I don't remember what that stands for. But yeah, everything has to be renamed. It's so stupid. Excuse me, we don't call them UFOs anymore. It's like everything has to become outdated, even when it worked perfectly fine for what it was. But these same kind of people who are pushing the alien op, which I've talked about before on this channel, they are also pushing the Mars op. They're the ones who are saying, we're seeing greater and greater evidence of alien life. And look at this and look at that. They went on 60 Minutes. They went on the Tucker Carlson show on Fox News. They went on, I think, Washington Post, or some other mainstream rag to talk about this sort of stuff. So it seems to me that they're pushing us in a certain direction, and I don't know exactly why. I know that there's a wide range of beliefs about aliens, and their existence, whether the whole alien notion in itself is a psyop, or whether aliens actually exist, and people claim to have seen different types of aliens. I'm utterly agnostic on that matter. I don't have any real stance as far as that goes. I'm open to different possibilities, but I do really question this Mars, this focus on Mars, this hyper focus on Mars, and the need to send people there, and this like it has some practical application. I don't think there's anything really that practical about sending people to Mars. I fail to see. It would be one thing if we truly were, if the Earth truly were about to collapse, or if things here were truly about to if life were truly no longer sustainable on Earth. But I don't believe all the overpopulation crap. I don't buy into it at all. No matter how many billions of people they say are on Earth right now, there are tons of wide open spaces. I mean, even in my state, where even the place where I live, I live in a largish city, I suppose, but you drive 20, 30 minutes from here, and there's tons and tons of empty country land. And so think about the really remote places. There's room for more people. The Earth can sustain more people. People aren't all that Malthusian nonsense is nonsense. So, and thus this whole notion of the need for eugenics, because there are too many of us, and we're being overpopulated, and we're being overrun with too many dysgenic types. I believe all of that is nonsense. But yet they still talk about those things, and I wonder if that's the real if those are the auspices that are causing them to push for this Mars thing. Anyway, got a little longer winded than I meant to, and I apologize for that. I hope you watch this in maybe 1.5 speed. I encourage anyone who likes to watch my videos, but sometimes thinks I can take a little too long to say things, go ahead and speed it up. I won't be offended, I promise. But anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think. My name's Andy Nowicki. Check out my work at altrightnovelist.com. My latest book, The Insurrectionist, can be purchased at terrorhousepress.com.